Good morning. Who's first?
Coach, you're right here in the middle.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Good
morning, good.
Can you talk about Big V, the job he's done, and the way he's progressed over the course of the season in replacing Peters?
Yeah, Big V has been a really a solid player for us. You know, we picked him up a year ago and drafted him and had a chance to really, learn from Lane and JP. And then in Lane's absence a year ago, he was able to fill in and do extremely well and play in some great games and get some quality minutes. And then, as you know, with JP going down, he filled in over there at the left tackle spot. He's done a really good job, been real consistent for us, and been a real big bright spot in that offensive line.
Doug, happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Your father was your first coach. Is there anything you took from your experiences with him in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, he was always he was sort of that tough love on us as boys growing up, and he coached that way, and he always had high expectations for me and my brothers, and he coached us probably a little bit different than he did the rest of the team. And I think just having that same sort of mentality with the guys, just sort of a tough love mentality with the guys now, and having that relationship with them is something that my dad and I had, and he was positive and uplifting, but at the same time, wanted to make sure that we were doing things right, and if we weren't, we would hear about it. So, that's kind of the same way I treat what I'm doing today.
Over here.
Say that again.
What would you do if you hear about it? How would you express it?
Oh, he'd come right into my room after a practice or a game and let me know about it, good or bad. Yeah, verbally.
Far right.
Far right over
far
here.
right.
Dave Schrader from Green Bay. There have been reports that you'll have Brett Favre speak to the team Saturday night. Can you confirm that and give us some insight into why you chose Brett for that?
Well, listen, I know Brett's going to be here, and he's got some obligations he's going to do this week, and he and I still stay in touch. I mean, we're great friends. We're teammates for 8 years in Green Bay, and I figured that since he I was going to be in town, and just asked him. It's really not Saturday night; it's Saturday morning at a team meeting. So he's just going to stop by the hotel and just visit with the guys for a few minutes Saturday morning.
Doug, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Talking to a couple of your players yesterday, they said this is maybe one of the best groups they've ever been around, played with, and they said it starts with you and how genuine you are. Would you describe this group of players and the way they play for each other and how together they are up there with maybe one of the best groups you've been around in your career as a player and coach? Well,
first of all, I appreciate that coming from them, and that does mean a lot to me as a head football coach, standing in front of them every single day, and getting them to that was the challenge I had 2 years ago was being the new head coach and getting them to buy into what I was sort of preaching and selling, and they've done that, and I think my relationship with the players, and having been in the dressing room for 14 years and been on a couple Super Bowl teams myself, I can relate to the players, and that's and that's just not talk. I mean, that's something that's real, and yet there's a fine line, though. You still have to maintain, head coach status and make sure that, the guys are doing exactly what you asked them to do, and they've done that. And I can appreciate the effort that these guys have put into not only last season but this season, not only for me but for themselves, and how well they've committed to each other. They've trusted the process. They've bought in, and here we are today.
Yeah, Doug, the extra downtime before the game and at halftime for the Super Bowl often is a difficult adjustment for players. How do you prepare them for that this week?
Well, it is a long time, pregame and halftime, and I've begun conversations with our players, preparing them for it. And it's just you just can't. A lot of guys have a certain routine, especially in pregame that they want to do, and because of the time, it's just hard to get exactly what they want to get done. I mean, it's just it's long. From the time we exit the field to the time the ball's kicked off is it's roughly 40 minutes, so we got some time in there. But I've continued, or we'll continue the conversations, prep the guys for it, and do the best we can to handle it when we get to Sunday.
Doug, how would you describe celebrating your 50th birthday in this setting? And other than a Super Bowl, what most would you want?
Well, obviously it's a great day, not only because of my birthday. My wife is here, and my family will be in here later in the week, and to be able to celebrate this with them and with the team, and to be in this game obviously is an honor. And if somehow we can pull out a victory, that would be the icing on the cake, as they say.
Right in the middle.
Doug, Ed Werder, left center here. Wanted to ask you, your staff has described you as being a fearless play caller, even though you're relatively new to that role. How do you see yourself in that regard, and will it be difficult to maintain that sort of reputation in a game of this magnitude?
I hope I can maintain it, because that's kind of what got us here, fearless or not. I mean, I trust my staff. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on during the games. It's not just me calling plays. There's a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue. This kind of behind the scenes that gives me confidence in some of the decisions that I make. Ultimately, they're my calls and my decisions, so I take full responsibility there. But it's a team effort. I approach each game the same. I'm gonna try to stay as aggressive as possible. Be smart, put our players in successful positions, and try to maintain that. So, I hope this game doesn't change that.
Doug, the last time you coached against Belichick was when you were with Kansas City, the offensive coordinator in that playoff game, and I was wondering what it was like preparing for coaching against him, as well as what kind of things did you learn from that game? Especially the last drive. You guys took a lot of time to score and everything.
Thanks for bringing that back up. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. A happy birthday, by the way.
Well, you definitely have to. You have to be. It's like what we've done this week. I mean, your preparation is to the nth degree. You've got to study every situation and understand how they're going to attack you and how we can attack them. And the biggest takeaway really from that game was the turnovers. I mean, we obviously had turnovers in that game, and against good opponents and quality teams, and a quarterback like Tom, you can't give them that many opportunities. And we got behind in that game early and just never recovered. And it's something that I'll remember that game obviously moving forward. But you got to play for 60 minutes. You got to play a full ball game against these guys.
Over here, Coach. What were your impressions of Matt Nagy when you worked with him in Philadelphia and Kansas City, and how well do you think he's going to do as the Bears' new head coach?
Well, first of all, he's going to do extremely well. He's another one that's played. He's played the quarterback position, and he was at Delaware and had some success, obviously, after college. And he's another one that really he gets the player. He understands the player. He listens to the player, and that's the thing that they're going to see in Chicago with him is those types of things. He's a smart coach. He can game plan. He can put plans together, and he's going to listen to his staff. He's going to assemble a staff that they're going to do some good things, and it's just a matter of getting them now on the same page, much like I was a year ago, and just believing what Matt is saying. He's going to do really well there.
Doug, in the middle here. Given your familiarity with Alex Smith, what's your reaction to the news that he'll be coming to your division in Washington? How do you think he'll do in that situation there?
Yeah, I just hate that we got to play him twice a year. Well, I'm happy for Alex. I've had a chance to work with him for 3 years, obviously, and I'm excited and happy for him. And I think it's a great honor for him and the Redskins. And I mean, he's going to do fine. He's a pro's pro. He's going to come in and he's gonna demand perfection with the guys that he's working with, and I'm excited to again have him in our division and be able to coach against him again.
Hey Doug, in this past month, I'm sorry, down here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
In this past month, you said the offensive scheme hasn't changed since Nick took over. But in what ways have you adjusted the offense to best fit Nick?
So you want me to give you the whole game plan?
If you could, that would be great.
That'd be great, right? Now, listen, it's with any player. It's like with Jay. When Jay came in, and we had to learn Jay, and we had to fit the run game to his strengths, and it's no different with Nick. Just the history with him. We missed a lot of training camp. We missed a lot of prep time with him, and we missed even in the regular season when Carson was taking all the reps. He wasn't in there, and so it's just kind of getting familiar with Nick again and understanding what he likes, and it's a little different than what Carson likes. So we just had to make sure that the plays that we have and the plays that I call, fit his strength and still fit the personality of the team.
When you were in Kansas City, or a couple weeks ago, you mentioned that you weren't inclined to let things slide. Do you feel like it was different in Kansas City? Do you feel like Reed let things slide, or do you feel like you handled things disciplinarily differently than maybe things were in Kansas City?
Start your question again, please.
You mentioned in Kansas City, or you mentioned a few weeks ago, that you weren't inclined to let things slide. Did you feel like it was different under Reed in Kansas City?
You're going to have to refresh my memory. I don't remember saying that.
It was just a quote about, like little things, right? You don't let things go past. Does it feel different than it was in Kansas City under Reed, or I don't know if you felt that
I don't remember the statement, and I don't remember letting things slide. I mean, we don't let things slide. We don't let little things go by. I've never coached that way, nor will I ever, allow the team to just let those things. I mean, little things take care of big things, and I preach that every day to our guys. So I don't understand that one.
First and foremost, happy birthday, Coach.
Thank you.
When you look at the Patriots and their run defense, they seem to really knuckle down in the last couple of games. What has stood out to you with how they've changed and been more aggressive and better against the run?
Yeah, they'll start the game a certain way, and then if something works offensively, they do a great job of adjusting and taking that away. You take a look at the Jacksonville game. Jacksonville was able to capture the edge on them a little bit early in the game, and then second half, that edge was no longer there. Safeties off the edge, backers off the edge, things of that nature, corners off the edge. I mean, they make those in-game adjustments that you see on tape, and that's what makes them so good on defense. And then it makes you have to adjust on offense. So, it's a chess match. I mean, that's what these games every weekend is about, and making sure that our moves are sort of one step ahead. But at the same time, if something gets taken away, then we have to adjust and make sure that we can still run the football.
Two more questions.
Doug, along those lines of it being a chess match, we've seen you play really two different offensive game plans in the last two games that we've seen you. How much does your ability to be an aggressive play caller depend on you seeing that your quarterback, Nick Foles, is getting comfortable?
Well, it helps. It helps when your quarterback is in a rhythm, when he's comfortable. Even if the offensive line is blocking and protecting well, and then our skill players have got to be able to make plays for Nick. It's not about the one guy. It's not about the quarterback. It takes everybody on offense. So, in the Atlanta game, we did struggle a little bit to separate at the top of routes and down the field, and didn't make the plays that we made in the Viking game, and so it just sort of opened up a little bit more in the second playoff game, and a lot of times too, just overall execution by the players, can really dictate to me how a game is called.
Last question,
Doug, we've seen the value over here. We've seen the value of acquiring and having quality quarterback depth. As a franchise, what's the key to going about building that and attaining it?
Well, I think it starts not only with the player, but I think it starts with the coordinator, with the position coach. Obviously, in my case, being a quarterback and an offensive-minded coach, I think it starts with me as well. And then you just got to put a plan together, and you got to sit down and it has to it has to start prior to you acquiring. If you have a chance to draft a young player or bring a free agent in, I think that plan has to be in place before that person hits the ground, just so that you can prepare him and get him ready to play, and how you're going to develop that player. I think is important to have that in place before that individual hits your organization.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.